And then they led me into the room to see him. And there was my boy. He was dead. He was already cold.
Tammy Summers is in the midst of unbelievable grief after her teenage son's death just last night. But Tammy wants to tell her story to help other families. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jenna Rehnstrom, and we start tonight with the message of a heartbroken mother. Tammy Summers' 18-year-old son, a senior at West High School, died last night. Austin McCloud was found unresponsive at War Eagle Park after his mom says he and some friends went there to smoke Kcau. Austin had just picked up his cap and gown yesterday and was getting ready to graduate. Now Tammy, as she struggles to make sense of what happened, is reaching out to do one of the first things that came to her mind: warn other parents. Here's her story. Did you know your son had been using drugs?
No. No, he had gotten in a little bit of trouble. They had him on probation, and he was, doing what he needed to do. No, I didn't. He said he would never do that,
Tammy Summers remembers telling her son she loved him on Thursday. Those are the last words she got to say. Austin McCloud, a senior at West High in Sioux City, was in a car with some friends Thursday night at War Eagle Park. Tammy says her son and others were smoking Kcau, a synthetic form of marijuana. Around 11 o'clock, a call came into police that there was trouble. Tammy tells us about hearing the news from a doctor at the hospital.
And he had said that Austin had a drug overdose, and they were called to the site because he was unresponsive.
Austin and 3 other teenage boys ended up in the hospital, but Tammy's son was already dead. As she struggles to figure out what to do next, she says she had to spread this message.
Kids need to be aware that it's not just a fun-time drug, because Austin's dead.
Kcau is a concoction of dried herbs sprayed with chemicals. It's illegal in Iowa, which authorities say has helped curb the problem, but it is still out there and it's very dangerous.
There's no regulation on these drugs as far as what substances are put into them, so it's hard to know how people are going to react to them and what their reaction could be. And we've seen everything from panic attacks to cardiac arrest, heart attacks, and stuff like that. So these substances are a huge health risk, and they're a concern to us.
And for Tammy, who now can only hold tightly to her son's senior pictures and dream about the future he could have had, she hopes her grief will spark a conversation between other parents and their teens about the dangers of synthetic drugs.
People are out there, and they say different things about what they think about Kcau, but my son is dead because of it, so it's really something. Everybody needs to listen to this and let Austin's story be told.
Tammy wanted me to mention that Austin was an organ donor, and although they don't know yet which organs will be able to be harvested, she's finding a little comfort knowing that he might be able to help someone else. One of the other boys who was hospitalized has since been released, according to that boy's mother. We don't have word on the other 2. As you can imagine, the news of Austin's death has been tough on the Sioux City School District. A team of counselors met at West High this morning to develop a plan to help students who are grieving. Many of Austin's classmates and friends are having a tough time dealing with the news. We spoke to one counselor who knew Austin when he was just a freshman at West High. She says this also opens the dialogue with students about the dangers of drugs.
We'll use that as an opportunity to have a discussion with a student that may be going down the same path or is on that brink, having that frank discussion about the harms of substance abuse.
This isn't the first time Austin's class has had to deal with the death of a classmate. They also lost 2 members of the class when they were just freshmen.
Well, it's been just 3 days since 18-year-old Austin McCloud died from an overdose of the synthetic marijuana known as Kcau. Family and friends spent the day honoring Austin's memory in the last place he was alive. ABC 9's Rachel Krause was there today. She joins us now with more.
It was an emotional day for friends and family of Austin McCloud, a Sioux City senior who passed away Thursday night, just weeks away from graduating. Loved ones say though it was Kcau that took his life, Austin was so much more than the drug he died from. Dozens, if not hundreds, packed inside War Eagle Park Sunday to remember 18-year-old Austin McCloud by releasing balloons, lighting a candle, and remembering the person he was, rather than the way he died.
I've known him since kindergarten, and he's always been there for me just as well as him, and we're all here together for him right now, and this is really hard, but people need to know he was a good guy, and then he was there for everyone, and he's truly my brother.
He was the best friend ever. I look at him as a brother, you know?
He always had the ability to make people smile.
McCloud overdosed from synthetic marijuana, known as Kcau, while out at War Eagle Park Thursday night with friends. He later died. But friends and family say he was more than just the drug he overdosed from. They say Austin was kind, silly, and loved by all.
I was very fortunate to have him as long as I did. I will be at a loss forever.
Summer says her son was a joy and a light to all. And after his light was extinguished so soon in life, she says she wants to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
I made them all promise me that they wouldn't experiment with things that could kill them, and they all promised me that, and I'm going to watch them.
And as for those classmates, they say they're devastated to lose such a wonderful friend.
He's going to be missed, and I'm really going to miss him.
People are here to support my best friend, my brother, Austin McCloud.
Austin's mother says the school will save a seat for Austin at graduation, and she'll still get his diploma. And for those wanting to say goodbye, family says the wake for Austin will be held this Wednesday from 4 until 8 p.m. at West High School in Sioux City. The funeral will be held at 6 p.m. The family has set up a YouCaring page to help cover the cost of Austin's funeral. We'll have all that info on our website. That's SiouxlandMatters.com. Allison.
We're gonna just experiment with it and see what it did, and it just went wrong.
Regrets and remembrance at the funeral of a Sioux City High School senior who died after experimenting with Kcau. Good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Tim Seaman.
And I'm Jenna Rehnstrom. Friends of West High senior Austin McCloud say they made a bad decision, and now they'll have to live with that decision for the rest of their lives.
The decision to smoke Kcau, or synthetic marijuana, ended up taking the life of their closest friend.
Allison Warren attended the funeral of Austin tonight. She joins us now with more.
Tim and Jenna, the boys with Austin that night, tell me they had never tried Kcau before, and if they'd have known the effects it could have, they never would have done it.
Austin and Chris are both on probation, so they figured, you know, let's smoke Kcau because it won't show up in a piss test.
18-year-old Austin McCloud died of a drug overdose after smoking synthetic marijuana. His friends with him that night recall the scary moments after trying Kcau.
I started hallucinating, and I started shaking, and then I ended up puking and having muscle spasms.
I was just sitting there and trying to move, and I couldn't move, and I looked down and I blacked out.
He just yelled and looked at me, stared me dead in the eyes, and I couldn't do anything.
Because of Kcau, Austin was gone, and 3 of his friends were in the hospital. It's a decision they say they'll have to live with the rest of their lives.
It's just the fact that knowing that I was there and there wasn't much that I could do to help. I mean, it's hard to know that my friend's gone.
At his funeral Wednesday night at West High School, Austin's mom, Tammy, says she is now focusing on his friends like they were her own son and is pushing them to do better in life in memory of Austin.
It's my job to make sure that they do something in their life because my son isn't here to make sure they do.
Tammy tells me how overwhelmed she was to look up in the stands in the gym and see how many students showed up to say goodbye to Austin.
I'm just so glad that he touched their lives because he surely made mine worth living.
Austin will be laid to rest in a private family burial tomorrow. His mother and friends say they hope teens learn from Austin's story and don't make the same mistake. Jenna?
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jenna Rehnstrom.
And I'm Tim Seaman. It's a story that we've been following for 1 week. Last Thursday night, West High senior Austin McCloud died after smoking Kcau.
Yesterday, ABC 9 News brought you exclusive interviews with 2 of Austin's friends who were with him the night he died.
Tonight, and only on ABC 9, new information about a fourth person that was with the boys. They're telling us that they're frustrated because that fourth person, identified only as a female, could have prevented Austin's death.
Meanwhile, police continue their investigation and for the first time are acknowledging that charges could be filed against whoever provided that deadly Kcau. Our Mo Haider is live in front of the police station with more. Mo?
Jenna and Tim, I spoke with Officer McCloud earlier today at the police station. He says this is an ongoing investigation, but they do have some leads. They've also conducted several interviews with people that might have connections with this case. Sioux City police know Kcau caused the death of 18-year-old Austin McCloud, but they're working to figure out where the drug that killed him came from. When that happens, McCloud says someone will be held accountable.
Once the investigation is complete, charges will be considered and filed.
Two of Austin's friends with him that night also smoked Kcau and were hospitalized. One of them says they got it from another person in the car. At this time, ABC 9 can't disclose that person's identity.
We get in the car, and she was like, all right, I got two different things here. She was like, I'm gonna give you all this one, and I'm gonna get rid of this one. So she put the one away, and then she rolled up a blunt.
Smith says everyone smoked, but Austin reacted differently.
Austin looks at me, and Taylor, shook his head, just took a deep breath, slapped his hands on his legs. He came here, and he started freaking out.
It was at this point, Smith says he urged someone to call 911.
She just sat there and looked at me like I was stupid. And I was like, I'm telling you the truth. Something bad is going to happen.
Unfortunately, that call wasn't made until much later.
He didn't call till 2 hours later. Like 11:06 is when the call came in, and I knew she was fine because she's used to this stuff, and she didn't have any problems, and she was very capable of calling.
But Johnson says it was too late, and Austin couldn't be saved.
If there's any hate for anybody in this world I have, it's her.
Now, again, the Sioux City Police Department says this is an ongoing investigation, but they will absolutely get to the bottom of this. ABC 9 News will keep you updated on any further developments in regard to this tragic event. Reporting live from the Sioux City Police Department, Mo Haider, ABC 9 News.
Thanks so much for that story tonight, Mo. And we also spoke to a local attorney on some of the possible penalties one could face if a person supplies Kcau to someone and it results in their death. Here's what he had to say.
Typically in the state of Iowa, I think you're potentially looking at an involuntary manslaughter charge, which is a Class D felony and carries 5 years in the Iowa State Penitentiary.
Munger says any innocent bystander, won't be held accountable. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jenna Rehnstrom. Tim is on assignment. And we begin with the story that we've been following for the past week. Kcau, an illegal form of synthetic marijuana, has been thrust into the spotlight following the death of a Sioux City teen who is believed to have died as a result of smoking that drug. A new development in that story today, and one you'll only see on ABC 9 News, as police have arrested an individual for selling Kcau. We join ABC 9 reporter Mo Haider live from in front of the Sioux City Police Station. Mo's been following this story and has more on the very latest. Mo?
Jenna, Sioux City Police aren't confirming that there is a direct connection, but something they do confirm, an 18-year-old has been arrested and charged for dealing Kcau. Now, this is a picture of Javon Mobley. He was picked up on Thursday by police for delivering the drug to a female he was with on 20th and Jones Street. Mobley was charged with the manufacture or delivery of an imitation-controlled substance. That's a simple misdemeanor, and Mobley has already posted his $2,000 bail. Now, Sioux City Police also say they're working with agencies in Nebraska as well as South Dakota after deaths from Kcau have been confirmed in all 3 states. Of course, we've been following the death of West High senior Austin McCloud. Austin was smoking Kcau with a group of friends last week when he's believed to have died from a reaction from that drug. An autopsy has yet to confirm that. While police aren't drawing the connection to this latest arrest, Austin's mother, Tammy, says Mobley is the one who sold the drugs to Austin's friend.
I've had problems with him before, and I said, please don't come around my house anymore.
She says her son Austin had a big group of friends and did socialize with Javon. She knew he was bad from the get-go.
He was associated with some bad people, that at me as a mother, would consider bad people.
Police can confirm Mobley has been charged for dealing K2, but can't confirm he has a direct link to Austin. Tammy says based on the arrest, she's confident he's behind the drug Austin smoked the night of his death.
When he was picked up, he had come from the location where I'd heard he had gotten the stuff that Austin had. He intended to distribute it to somebody else.
And that's not the only reason she believes Javon is a source of the K2.
I had a lot of people sending me different information, all of which I forwarded to the Sioux City Police Department. And Javon Mobley came up numerous times.
Tammy says she doesn't have any ill feeling toward the man who could be linked to her son's death. She just wants the drug that took her son off the streets.
If he's off the streets, I'm going to feel better. If that's going to prevent another death, then it's something definitely we need to do. He needs to be in jail.
And this is all she has to say to him.
I want Javon to do better in life and maybe choose another avenue.
We now know what charges a Sioux City woman will face for allegedly selling synthetic marijuana that may have caused the death of a West High School senior. 18-year-old Rose Autumn Mao is charged with involuntary manslaughter and delivery of a controlled substance. The charges stem from the death of 18-year-old high school senior Austin McCloud. McCloud died last April after smoking the synthetic marijuana called K2 that he allegedly purchased from Mao. Mao has pleaded not guilty. Her trial is set to begin on April 26. ABC 9 spoke to the mother of McCloud, who says she has no hate in her heart for Mao. She says that nothing will bring her son back, but her new mission is to prevent other kids from making the same mistake that he made, warning others of the severe dangers of synthetic marijuana.